Forgiveness is one of the foundations of human flourishing. Yet for many people, forgiveness is easier said than done. Why? Because when someone wrongs you in some way, or whenever you feel betrayed by someone who had wronged you in the past, or whenever there was something that you perceived as injustice being inflicted towards you, it can be very easy to be resentful towards the person who inflicted said injustice to you. It can be very easy, and even the so-called best of us are very much prone to it. But even for the people who did wrong to us, the best way to move on is to forgive them. Forgiving them helps you relinquish all your anger. And quite frankly, the whole world needs to embrace love rather than condemnation. It's a rather profound thing when you think about it. You can't really go on loving yourself whilst condemning others, or you can't really go around condemning yourself and loving others. Love and condemnation are not a very good combination when applied to us in this finite life. We have such a short time before we reach eternity. So it's best to live life loving others. I'm gonna be honest. I am absolutely amazed at the grace of the Holy Trinity. And the grace and forgiveness can be easily seen in The Chosen Season 4, Episode 2. One of the best aspects about storytelling is setup and payoff. In this episode, we harken back to a certain setup of character development. Simon says to Matthew that he will never forgive him because of the wrong that Matthew did to Simon back when Matthew was working for the Romans as a tax collector. In this episode, however, Jesus helps both Simon and Matthew find forgiveness. And Jesus rather profoundly says that forgiveness is something that you receive. Wait, what was it? How did it go again? It was, I'm gonna have to watch the episode again. It was something along the lines of like, forgiveness is like something that you give to another, and grace is something that you receive. Yeah, I think that was being said. So Jesus spoke to Simon and Matthew separately, and said to Simon that you need to forgive the person in order to let go of your anger. And he said to Matthew, forgiveness is not something that you give, forgiveness is something that you receive. That grace is something that you receive. I'll need to watch the episode again just to be sure, but he said something rather profound like that. And in this episode, both Simon and Matthew find reconciliation when Simon lets go of his anger and forgives Matthew. And it's a rather moving scene, and it's a great payoff for all the character development. You see, this is one of those moments where the series just works. This is an adaptation of not just Jesus Christ, but the titular Chosen. The Chosen who were chosen by Christ to walk with him, and their journey and what they had to go through. So, very deeply insightful stuff. And in the same episode, Jesus encourages his followers, which the series is named after, to not be afraid of even the seemingly pagan places. Oh, side note, I love how edgy the show can get for a show that's mainly aimed towards families. Basically, as they approach the pagan temple, Matthew notes, oh, they're herding goats. Are they going to use them for sacrifice? And then the other disciple says, worse. If you know, you know. And pardon my sign language, but... gross. Like, the fact that they even hint at it, for a show that's mainly aimed towards families, like, Oh, oh. Wow. Wow. So during this encounter, Jesus takes them to the pagan place, and the followers are thinking, what are you doing? And Jesus tells them, you don't need to be afraid of these places. Why? Because these pagan idols, they're not really living. They're made up. But Jesus pointing to himself says, I am a living God. So, Simon, who do you say that I am? And then Simon professes that Jesus is the Son of God, the living God, and then because Simon came to this conclusion by his own volition and not because anyone else told him, Jesus rewards Simon with a new name, Peter. And something that I quite like about the show is that they do a lot of intriguing character development based on the fact that Simon had his name changed to Peter. So there's a lot of awkwardness, there's a lot of conversations about the significance of Simon having his name changed to Peter, the Rock, who is going to build the foundation of the church. Yes, Peter, the Rock. Johnson. I will leave. So there's a lot of talk about this sort of thing, and you think, Peter doesn't seem very much like a rock to me. There's just so much great character development, and there's a lot that one can learn from this series. Not to mention, I also forgot to mention, there was the beginning part of this episode where Jesus has the dream of John the Baptist, and it's a very airy, dreamy imagery of John being freed from the clutches of his life and then encouraging Jesus Christ to carry on with his ministry. And that's what inspires Jesus to do what he does that in this particular episode. I don't think there's much more to say. I think I've summarized the vast majority of this episode, and this episode's the length of a feature-length film. Yeah, it's funny how these streaming shows can be like the length of movies these days. But I guess that's all I have to say about The Chosen episode 2, and I guess it hit quite a personal chord for what I've been going through, much like how it would do for many other people. What do you think about this episode? Is there anything that I missed out that you want to talk about? Feel free to let me know in the comments down below, and I look forward to future conversations. Thank you, God be with you all. ScotsThinker signing out.